Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening and watching the Italian American Entertainment Podcast. I'm your host, Vince Shirelli, and today we have the great singer and performer Anastasia Lee with us. Anastasia performed with Josh Groban in 2011, and since then has been crowned a three-time Italian Idol winner and has almost 10 million views on YouTube. And in 2016, received her first best-selling number one single on Amazon, Sano e Salvo, making the charts in the United States, Germany, United Kingdom, and Japan. So welcome, Anastasia. How are you?
Hi, I'm pretty good.
Good.
It's cold here in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Are you, you're northern Wisconsin, right?
Green Bay, so kind of right in the middle.
In the middle. Okay. Not
Yeah.
too bad. That's about, I think Green Bay's 3 hours for me. So
Yep.
yeah, it's getting cold here in Rockford, Illinois too. So I wish I was in Arizona where my sister lives, but that's okay. So, how I usually start this thing out is, since it's about Italian Americans, where you're from. Well, you just told us where you're from now, but in Italy do you trace your Italian ancestry?
All right. Now this gets a little confusing, so I came prepared.
All right.
Okay. The basic part of my family, my Italian ancestry, comes from Turin, Florence, and the Isle of Elba.
Okay.
That's where I can trace my great-grandmother's ancestry from. She came from Florence herself when she was about 3 years old. And she came to Chicago, Illinois, and then up to Wisconsin, and then to the UP, of all places. I don't know why anybody would really
Right.
go there.
Right. Yeah, that's especially coming from Italy. Well, if
Yeah.
Florence, I mean, that's northern Italy, so
Yeah,
I
it's
don't think
true.
I don't think it gets that cold up there.
No.
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 So,
And then the other part of my Italian heritage is just it's much juicier. It's a lot more fun to look at. It's through the House of Savoy, which was the ruling house of Italy from the mid 19th century to the mid 20th century. However, my ancestry to them goes further back than that. And at that point, you get into the illegitimate children, and yeah, it just gets really, really
yeah.
confusing there. And I couldn't fit it into a piece of paper,
Oh yeah. No, that's cool. But have you been to Italy?
I haven't.
No?
We planned on going, except now COVID ruined it.
Yeah. No, it's I haven't been in 11 or 12 years, so it's been a while for me, but it's definitely I never got to go up by Florence or anywhere. I'm Sicilian, so I'm Southern Italian, so I spent most of my time down there.
Yeah.
But I went to Rome, of course, for a couple days just to see it. But I got to go to Northern Italy. I want to see Milan and Florence and all that. So we'll see, maybe next year. But so, of course, you're a singer. What for the people that might have never heard of you before? You do more operatic style, from what I've seen you perform. I've seen you perform one time last year. I think we kind of crossed paths in the UP at Iron Mountain. Was that what the name of the city is? Yeah. So are you a soprano, alto? Why don't you explain to people
All right.
what type of singer you are?
When I was a teenager, I did sing mainly operatic, classical type music, but now I do not because my voice has dropped, rather like a guy, but not a guy. I am a contralto now, which is the lowest of female voice types, and it's the rarest. About 1% to 2% of female vocalists are contraltos. So think Karen Carpenter, Patsy Cline, Adele. Those would be contraltos. And so now I do mainly traditional pop, which would be Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, Italian standards, That's Amore, things like that. And I've spent a lot of my time performing at Italian festivals, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And I've performed with several of the people you've actually interviewed already, Corey Pezzaturo and Aaron Caruso, with the Sicilian tenors, of course. And yeah, it's a small community, but
It is. Yeah, we all end up crossing paths at some point. So when did you start performing? At what age did you start singing?
I'd say 8 years old. My parents introduced me to the music of Andrea Bocelli with a CD he recorded with Sarah Brightman. The song was "Time to Say Goodbye" or "Con te partirò," and I kind of ruined the CD playing it over and over and over. And that's kind of how I started singing. Yeah.
Okay. So when was your first actual performance, would you say?
It was at an open mic when I was like 11, but my first actual paid performance was when I was 14.
Okay. And where was that? Is that a festival?
Yes.
And how was that for you playing? Which festival was it? Do you remember?
Italian Fest, Iron Mountain, Michigan, actually.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how was that experience for you the first time in front of a big crowd?
It felt more real at that point. It was kind of like a similar-ish feeling to when I performed with Josh Groban. I was pretty much like, kind of in shock, and they asked me to come on stage and sing more, and I was like, I only had that prepared. I'm sorry.
So before I forget, so how did the whole Josh Groban thing come about? Was it just all by chance that it just happened, or I mean, how did that happen?
They had a system there that they were advertising on the TVs where you could text them a question. And my mother and I didn't have a cell phone. We didn't really use cell phones. I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 20. I'm so technologically savvy. But so my mother asked someone else to use their cell phone, and she texted Josh saying, "Hi, my name is Anastasia. I'm 14 years old and I love to sing opera. Can I sing a duet with you?" And halfway through the concert, he called my name, and I was like, no. And yeah, I ended up singing a duet with him, and I remember nothing about it. So
Really?
really.
So
Mhm.
you were 14, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So, well, it's interesting. That's great. Who got the video? If it wasn't, how did you actually get the video to you guys if you didn't have a
There
cell
were a
phone?
bunch of people in the audience that filmed. Like, that's all I really remember. Everything looked great, and then there were a bunch of flashes from cameras and stuff. And so after the fact, we went on YouTube and we just compiled all the clips of videos we could find to make the best rundown of it we possibly could.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, no, that's got to be a shock, especially at that age for your real kind of first time doing something like that. So, and where was
It
it
was
in?
something.
Was it in Michigan?
It was in Green Bay, Wisconsin at the Resch Center, which is right on top of Lambeau Field or Packer Stadium.
Okay, very cool. So, do you, in an instant like that, I think anybody would get nervous. But I like to ask this to a lot of singers when I talk to them. Do you still get nervous? Are you one of those people that gets like super nervous on stage?
I don't really anymore. I used to get really nervous and I'd get horrible stomach aches. And there was a summer, I think it was 2017, I performed so many times in a row, all the nerves just like disappeared.
Right.
So
Yeah.
now I just go on stage and
That's kind of how it is for me. I don't get very nervous anymore just for so long doing it. But there's once in a while it's like, okay, it's you get the butterflies or whatever. But I always
it
like
depends
asking.
on the size of the gig too.
Yeah, I always like asking questions. That question because they always get a singer that's like done it for 30 years or something, and their answer's always they're just a nervous wreck before every show, and I find that interesting because thankfully it doesn't happen to me. But who would you say throughout your life, since this is about Italian Americans, was your biggest Italian American musical influence, if there is one?
Oh, geez.
Or Italian influence if it's not Italian American, because I know you already said Bocelli.
Italian American would be Dean Martin, and Italian would be Luciano Pavarotti.
Yeah, I didn't get into Pavarotti until I was a little older. When I was younger, it was always playing in the house, and I was always like, I don't want to listen to this. But, as I got older and started researching more about him and his life, and it's very interesting. There was some documentary I watched, either on HBO or something about him this year that I watched, and that was very interesting. I didn't know about his life like that. So have you ever seen Bocelli in concert?
I did, yes. I was actually a special guest to him, and we got free tickets to go sit up near the front row at his concert in Chicago in 2012. It was pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I've never seen. I would love to see him in concert, but never
It's
been able
really
to.
expensive, so I was glad I got free tickets.
Oh, that's cool. So the way that I had initially heard about you was probably through Aaron or Corey or one of those guys, because I
Mhm.
think you played Milwaukee Festa, and it was the year that I
Yes.
couldn't be there. But you perform in a group, so why don't you, or you did? I don't know if you guys still do, but why don't
hmm
you talk about that group a little bit?
So the group I'm part of is Tre Principesse, which is Italian for three princesses. We kind of took that from the three tenors just a little bit. But we are a Billboard charting group. Our first album, which we crowdfunded for, made it onto the Billboard charts in the classical genre and the classical crossover genre in 2017. And since then, we've been performing at Italian festivals. I mean, Festa Chicago, Festa Naperville, Milwaukee, just basically all over the place. And I mean, we're pretty busy even with COVID. We've been planning as much as we can. Tomorrow, we're shooting a big music video for our Phantom of the Opera medley at an opera house down south in this state. So
Okay, very cool. So is it always a consistent, the same three of you, or do you guys kind of change in and out?
we've found a group of three now. That's very solid. Before it was more inconsistent because we're all school age kids, and now it's more.
That's
Yeah.
good. So what's and you are still in college, right? Because you're still
Yep.
you're much younger than I am. So
I'm in my
that's
dorm right now.
very cool. What are you studying? Are you studying music or something totally different?
No, something totally different. I just graduated from St. Norbert College with a bachelor's in the arts. I was majoring in history, and now I'm at UWGB, or University of Wisconsin Green Bay, and I'm getting my education license. So
Oh,
I'll
very
be
nice.
a singing history teacher if nothing else.
Oh, very nice. Well, congratulations, and hopefully, I miss college. When you're in it, you're like, I want this to be over, and then you think that it's been, I don't even know how many years now for me, but you do miss it once in a while. So try to remember everything, because you'll
Ugh.
in a few years you'll wish you were back. But so
There's some
what?
things I'd rather forget.
Yeah. So what's next for your group? What would you say is really, you've played festivals. I mean, you've released albums and things. So what's really next for you guys that you would say is like your hope for the next year or couple years?
Well, I'm hoping COVID goes away.
Right.
I had COVID. It wasn't fun.
Oh,
It was
geez.
quite awful. I ended up in the hospital. My mother was next to me. It was great.
Oh my gosh.
But personally, I'm hoping COVID goes away and festivals come back. From what I've heard, the news isn't good about Italian festivals coming back. They're not the best sponsored. They're not the greatest. They don't have the most funds. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I think quite a few of them are going to be disappearing. And as females, we struggle more than you'd think to actually get into the festivals. I'm not sure if I should repeat this, but I will. I'll just say an Italian festival in the southern half of the United States. I was about to be booked there when I was 17 or 18 years old. And they called my parents up on the phone and they told them that they would not hire me because I am not a male and I am not beefcake.
Well,
So, unfortunately, for my group, although we would like to perform at many, many, many more Italian festivals because we have Italian heritage and the food is amazing, as is the music, unfortunately, sexism is a big issue. So,
yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's just like happens everywhere in the workplace and everything, but it does happen in music. I've seen it
mhm.
throughout the years too. It's unfortunate, but you guys are doing a great job, especially for your age. You guys started young, which is even harder. When I didn't really start. I've been playing Italian music my whole life, but I did more pop rock.
Mhm.
I didn't want to do that stuff, so I played in bars and stuff for years, and then I
Yeah.
started, a little later, 20, 21. I was still young, but then I got into it, and so it's great that you guys, so your first Italian festival was like 14, 15. Is that when you really
Yep.
started? So that's
Mhm.
young age, so that's great. You guys have done a lot for, especially that age. I think I saw something a couple years ago. So you said you're Billboard charting with the group. So did you guys
Mhm.
go to some award ceremony or something? I thought I remembered seeing something flash by
We
on
went to
social media or
something,
something.
yeah, we went to something else. This was Okay, when we released our album, we got nominated for a bunch of different music awards all over the place. It wasn't just Billboard thing. That didn't have any awards associated with it. We were nominated for several Whammy Awards, which is the Wisconsin Music Association, and we won a couple of them. And so we went and we walked the red carpet there. And then we flew out to Hollywood because we were nominated for several indie music awards, and we won a couple of those. So we walked the red carpet there, and I'm thinking that's probably what you saw, is
Probably.
the Hollywood one.
That's cool. Well, that's also a cool experience for you guys.
It was. I'm not a fan of the heat in Hollywood, but then again, I'm not a fan of the cold here. So if I
Yeah.
can find something like in between, that'd be good.
San Diego, it's always like 70 and perfect for some reason.
I'll
It's
have
San
to
Diego.
check.
San Diego's beautiful. They did have an Italian festival. I played at it a few times. I think it's gone now, unfortunately, with a lot of these
Yeah.
festivals. But so you've played all over the place. Do you guys have one or two favorite venues that you really like? On top. I know it's hard for people to say, but it might not even
Yeah.
be a festival if you've played a concert hall or something like that. Is there something that really sticks out to you after all these years?
My favorite award show I was ever in was Music for Kids Romania, which was a talent TV show, international. It was held in Romania, and I was there as a contestant in 2013 and then as a judge in 2016, and it was pretty cool. I really liked that place, Yash, Romania. And then my favorite Italian festival would be Festa, Milwaukee. It's bigger on a scale because they have the Summerfest grounds that they can
Right.
work with. And there go my Italian hands. Stop it.
Yeah, no, Milwaukee's great. I've played 3 or 4 times in Milwaukee, and
Yeah.
it's great up there, especially because you get to play on such a giant stage that you don't usually get to play anywhere else. So that's a cool thing. But
Until this year, I'd performed at Milwaukee every year since 2012. I'd been making it a thing.
that's
So
cool.
unfortunately, COVID, you've ruined it.
We've played the same years there, but for some reason
Yeah.
we never ran into each other. So, but
Yeah.
that's there's so many stages too. We used to just play and then go. We drive back down to Rockford because we're only an hour away from Milwaukee, so we just play and drive away. But what do you love so far? Even though you're still young, what have you loved so far about your career as a singer?
I kind of like mixing my idea of academics with it. I mean, I sing in 13 languages, and I have a photographic memory, and I like mixing history into it somewhat. So, like, I did a gig at a museum recently, and well, not recently, pre COVID, but recently in my mind. And I basically had a PowerPoint on behind me while I was singing. I was talking about World War II because my grandfather was a World War II vet. I never met him, but he was a World War II vet. And I kind of like mixing my love of history and music together as much as I possibly can, or mixing my hobbies with languages together with music as much as I possibly can. I mean, sometimes that can be quite kind of difficult because, say, like, I know the song My Heart Will Go On in like 4 languages, and sometimes my brain will start spouting the wrong language as I'm singing halfway through the song. I'll start it in Russian and finish it in Latin, and it's like, what happened there? But I
Well,
mean, I like taking music and doing it my way.
yeah, no, that's cool. So, if with this being a contralto, which was a term to be honest, I'd never even heard of. Sorry, but I never heard of that until I heard about you. But so are you you're going more pop mainstream with kind of throwing in the operatic style? Is that kind of what you're doing rather than being 100% operatic?
Yeah, I mean, in my career, I've only ever sung like 3 opera arias and then
Oh, okay.
400 other songs. But people always remember the opera because that's what sticks out in their heads, because opera is so odd in the United States.
Well, and it's, especially with Italian music, what I usually say is
Yeah.
Italian music is either you think of That's Amore or you think of Pavarotti, you think of opera or you think of,
Yeah.
that type of
And
Italian music, in which there's so much in between. It's unfortunate that there's that kind of stereotype of it's either this or that. It's not just, that. I
Yeah, and
mean,
so many
so
Americans I know think that's amore is opera. So,
yeah. So I
yeah.
mean, what's since especially you're a young Italian American,
Mhm.
what do you hope for the future of Italian American entertainment? And do you have a feeling, especially you're younger than I am, is there more young people your age that you see that are going to try to continue this, or what are your thoughts on the continuing of what we're doing?
Well, how do I put this? That's, PC. I'd say that I really hope Italian American entertainment becomes much more open to female singers because, I mean, you have like Connie Francis in the big group, but there's just more men. There always has been more men. And even now in the younger groups that you're seeing be hired by festivals and private corporations and stuff, it's just men all the time, men. And women have to work so much harder to actually prove they're any good at anything. I mean, tomorrow my group and I are filming a music video. It's 9 minutes long. It's a big medley. We've been working on it all year, and this is our like basically last hurrah. If we can't get hired after filming this and releasing this, then there's basically no hope for women whatsoever. Because we worked so hard. I've heard this from so many Italian American female artists, and it's really depressing. So I'd hope that they would become more open instead of always rehiring the same 50 to 70-year-old men.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's it's I see it as well with the struggle, and I'm not even a female, of course, but the struggle that we've had over the past 10 years of trying to get into this industry. It's a lot of the same over and over again, and that's kind of what I've talked to some of the other guests on this show, which is kind of goes into my next question, but about the future of Italian festivals and organizations, which you kind of touched on already, which you know, Milwaukee has done a good job, and since you've played Milwaukee and Iron Mountain, I played last year. I didn't stick around very long because it's a 5-hour drive for us, so we
Yeah.
kind of left right away. But it seemed like they pretty much stuck to being Italian up there, and
Mhm.
Milwaukee does. But a lot of these festivals, they start going more mainstream, and the Italianness kind of
Yeah.
disappears a little bit, and that's my fear for I mean, COVID is a huge fear, of course, because it's
Mhm.
gonna, like you said, it was tough before COVID for these festivals to even hang on, and now it's gonna be even harder. But even outside of that, my hope is at least we stick to the really make it Italian type of thing, instead of
Yeah.
trying to appeal
Even at
to a
my favorite Italian festivals, for the later night performances, they'd hire
right.
basically what you call popular music groups that that didn't have anything to do with Italy or Italian music or anything.
Right.
But they'd hire them because they knew the drunks would be coming in later at night and
Right.
they wanted that ka-ching. So in essence, although they're doing that to survive, they're also stabbing themselves in the back because you
Yeah.
can't get rid of what makes you special, and the Italian is what makes it special.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I've said it.
It's really annoying to see, actually.
I've said it in probably every single one of my podcasts when we talk about this, but my saying is, you don't go to a Mexican restaurant and order a hamburger, and that's my thoughts on
Exactly.
Italian festival. You don't go there to listen to, Katy Perry cover band or something like that. You go
Yeah.
you go there to listen to feel Italian for the weekend. So, well, it'll be
Yes, I
interesting
can
to
feel
see.
my stress level going like,
Yeah, it's tough, but we'll see what happens in the future. So before we end everything,
Mhm.
basically, what's next for you? What's next for your group? Do you have any upcoming dates or virtual? A lot of people are doing virtual things now. And how can people find out about you or find your music and all that fun stuff?
They can find me on the internet under Anastasia Lee. And they can find our group on the internet under Tre Principesse, which is impossibly difficult to spell, I know. So you can find it linked under all of my social media things anyway. But basically, our plan right now is to stay afloat until COVID goes away. I know many artists that are unfortunately retiring, and I know many Italian festivals that are going under. So I'm hoping that as a group and as singers and entertainers, we can just survive until it's done. Not even thrive, okay? I'm not even worried about that. Just survive.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll be an interesting next couple years. So I'm hearing that festivals and the entertainment industry really is not going to come back until like 2 years from now, 2022. So
Yeah.
it'll be an interesting ride to see see what happens. But well, thank you very much for coming on. I'll tag all your links on this so people can find you and go to your website. And how many CDs or tracks or singles do you have out there for sale?
I have one single and I have one CD.
Okay.
However, we're in the process of making 3 more CDs at the same time.
Okay, very cool. And I'm sure that's all on your website and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Well, once again, thank you, Anastasia. Thanks for coming on. Hopefully, maybe next year or the year after, I'll see you in Milwaukee or Iron Mountain if I go back up there again. And
Yep.
maybe we can do a song together that time.
Why not?
All right, sounds good. Well, thanks again, and thanks everybody for listening and watching the Italian American Entertainment Podcast. We'll see you next time.